Welcome to another episode of Accelerate Podcast, and I'm delighted to introduce my very special guest, Olatowun Candide-Johnson. Before I welcome her, I'll just give a brief overview of her profile. Olatowun is a lawyer with over 30 years experience in corporate and commercial law and in business development and governance of multinational corporations. During the course of her career, she's worked in law practice, shipping, and oil and gas. She also worked with Total Group, where she worked in various departments, including legal, audit, insurance, and she was the chief compliance officer for the Total upstream companies in Nigeria. In 2016, she obtained the Global Executive MBA awarded by the LSE, NYU Stern, and HEC or HEC Paris, known as the, what's it called? Let me go back again. We'll take that
HSC.
note. Sorry?
So the French call it HSC because the H is
Okay, maybe I'm not going to say
HSC, or Anglo say HEC, but
HEC,
yeah,
but you speak French, right? HSC. And is it known as a triumph or triumph?
Triumph.
Okay, so I'm going to take that again. 2016, she obtained a Global Executive MBA awarded by the LSE, the NYU Stern, and the HEC Paris, known as the Triumph Global Executive MBA. I know I've not pronounced that well, but I pronounced it like the English, not the French. After many years in corporate life, she decided it was time for her to venture into the entrepreneurial space in 2018. And she founded Gaia Africa, which is a member-only business and social club for women leaders in Lagos. That's a physical location. She also has a Gaia Digital, and I'm going to ask her some more questions about that, to facilitate business connections and expand bottom lines. Olatowun is the founding parent of Lagos Preparatory School in Ikoyi, which is one of Africa's leading British curriculum preparatory schools in Lagos. She's a chairman of African Delivery Technologies, that's quick delivery, and member of board of directors of several companies, including and associations, including the Nigerian Norwegian Chamber of Commerce. She is also an angel investor and a member of Rising Tide Africa, which is a network of female business angels investing in entrepreneurs across the African continent. Olatowun is Wines and Spirits Education Trust Level 2 certified. Olatowun, I'm going to ask you more about that. And Dame Chevalier de Lord de Côté de Champagne. I'm trying to speak my French here. She loves all forms of the arts, culture, food and wine, Pilates, books, and interesting places. What an interesting profile. Olatowun, welcome to Accelerate. I'm really delighted to have you here with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It is a great pleasure to be here.
Okay, I have several questions to ask you. The first is, given your wealth of corporate experience as a corporate lawyer with over 30 years experience in diverse sectors of the economy, what prompted you to start Gaia?
So it's a great question, but a very long story. But anyway, I'll try and proceed it. So I worked in corporate for several years. I suppose, well, first of all, it was legal practice, then it was corporate. So I suppose I did corporate for about 20 odd years or slightly more, 25 years maybe. And at some point around 2014, I went to live in Paris from between 2008 and 2011. And I was working in the HQ business development division, which is really something else. You're actually invited to join. Well, in those days, I don't know about now, you're invited to join. And so, that really opened my eyes to the business world. And it was really exciting because basically, what are you doing? You're buying and selling oil blocks, right? So, and you're given specific countries and you.
And that was with Total, right? The oil company, the global oil company, right? Okay.
Correct. Yes. So, so I came back in 2011, and from 2012 to 2015, I lived in Abuja. And at some point, in 2015, I was beginning to think about, what next, because I knew that I wasn't going to, you know, retire from Total. I mean, I wasn't going to stay until I was 60, right? And so I just started to think about, basically, I should self-improve, anyway, because being in legal and sort of all those support functions for many years and then going into business, it kind of like opens your eyes to realize that actually there's a lot more excitement out there, rather than being either the policeman or the one who is the advisor basically. And then I came across an article which was uh, talking about a lady who had been in corporate for 17 years, and then she decided to do this MBA. And then, from the MBA, I think her capstone project, she took live and built this, luxury brand. And I thought, that's interesting. This is something I should look at. And then I thought, but oh God, would I even get into any business school with all my legal background? But, I just thought, whatever, I'm just going to try and I'll apply. And with the Triumph EMBA, you first of all send a CV, and then they decide whether you are, whether you have a good enough CV to apply. And then if you are, if they find that that's the case, then you apply, and then it's quite a rigorous process. But anyway, so I just thought, let me just try. I just send it anyway. I'm not really expecting to hear back. And I think I thought maybe the deadline had gone or whatever. I just thought, what the hell, just try. And I did. And anyway, the rest is history, basically. And so when I was, while I was doing this program, I suddenly realized, I think I've been living in a false reality, because honestly, global oil, companies, you're kind of living in, well, certainly with Total, you're sort of living in a world that is like the United Nations, because
Right.
not
Kind of
only
a
do you have
bubble.
opportunities to go and live, sorry, well, yeah, really, a lovely bubble.
You're right.
But you kind of think that, I mean, it's your worldview, right? Because
Absolutely.
you're talking today. I'm talking to somebody in Angola, then I'm talking to someone in Brazil, and then someone in China, and then I'm going to China to negotiate deals, and it's just kind of anyway. But when I was starting to read all these case studies and the things that people were doing and birthing, and I was like, okay, well, I think that it's time for me to, there's a world out there that I hadn't even thought of, And so, so I started that in September 2014. And honestly, by the time, it was 6 modules in 6 different countries, and it was very exciting, but it was a lot of hard work. And I think that, I was pulling my hair out at some point, because trying to work as well as do the MBA is no easy feat. But anyway, I realized that, I think it's time to go, or at least let me start thinking about, exiting. And then in early September, I realized, well, I didn't realize, but actually I was burnt out. So I really wasn't, I was burnt out. I had the symptoms, but I didn't even know what that was. I just thought, okay, maybe it's time to just go, because I can't, the way I work, I can't change the way I work. I'm either like all in or I'm not. So I thought that, okay, I'm going to have to give my notice, and I did. But it really wasn't accepted for a while. Anyway, that's another long story. But anyway, and then I came out of there and decided that I was going to launch a project. I didn't even rest. I just went, woo, yeah, straight in, let's go. So I always wanted to do something in hospitality, because I'm just one of those fast pots. I'm never satisfied with service. I'm always complaining about one thing or the other. So I thought, okay, since Madam Complainant, do your own now. Let's see, what you'll do it at. Exactly. So I started a project which was called Voltaire Arts Club, right? And the Voltaire is really a play on my name, and Voltaire wrote Candide, and my name is Candide, and Voltaire and the French, all that stuff. Anyway, but that project didn't go very far, and after working on it for about 18 months, including, finding a premises, working on all the design, even hosting, marketing already and doing all kinds of things. So that didn't go very far. Why? Because we had issues with the building that, we got. It was subject to flooding in the Ikoyi area, and we would have to pull the buildings down and rebuild. And so basically there was no project because the budget went haywire at that point. And the idea for that was really to have this private members club, which would showcase emerging artists. So any young emerging artist in fashion, music, design, anything around the arts, showcase their work in the club and through events and all that sort of stuff. And I thought it would be nice to do that for the emerging artists, but also nice for the members, because then there would be no sort of there would be something new all the time. Anyway, so that failed, and I didn't want to dwell because you can because I lost, yeah, I lost a lot of money on that one, and I
can
thought,
imagine. You're right. Yeah.
it was very painful, and so I thought, you know what, you don't want to dwell. Just think about doing something else. What else? And then I started to think that there were no. I was trying to raise money for that project, and also 2017 was a difficult period because I think we were in recession and people were hiding their money, or they were keeping their money close to them anyway. And but I realized that I hadn't come across many women in that space. So I thought, I wonder why. Why didn't I come across any women? Why was it men that I kept having to talk to about investing and all of that? And so I researched the subject quite a bit and spoke to quite a number of people. And I realized my conclusion was that women were not sort of communing in the right way. They're not building a community takes work. There are trust issues that we have. We live in a country where the trust gap is huge. And so I thought that, why don't I try and do something a little bit different, right? And try and bring women together for the purpose of business, because women generally, we're not talking about business, we're talking about all the different things. And we would bond, but, on a fairly superficial level. And, I just thought, let's do something different. And so the idea was then I always knew that it would be a, members only club for women with a clubhouse, but I wanted to start to see whether, it would even work at all. Would women want to get together? Would they want to sit down and talk business? Would they want to do business together? All this sort of stuff. So we started with what we call the business dining clubs, which is something that's held every month. Either we have a guest speaker who's talking about her story, her experience, or we just talk around a certain subject, and just really trying to get to know people on a smaller scale.
Right.
And we're trying to get those, get women to connect on a deeper level, right. To stay in touch and to try to grow those relationships. And then, really primarily talk about what it is that you're doing. A lot of people say, don't talk about what you're doing, or what don't talk about what you plan to do. And I've always been, talk about what you plan to do, please, because, you never know who's listening to you.
Ideas, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you never know how yeah, okay, sure.
Sorry, no, because you've just said many things, and I want to bring you back to some of the things that you've talked about. One was even deciding that it was in the hospitality industry when you were thinking about, look, I'm not going to stay in full-time employment till I'm 60. What else am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And you decided to marry your interests, right? The hospitality, you said, which I guess turned into something you can make money of and from. And then the second thing you talked about, which was quite instructive, is that the first thing you thought about did not work. And you invested money and all that. Why did you decide to do something again? Mm-hmm. Still similar to that. Because, we kind of just talked, you just meant, just glazed over it. Yeah. But go ahead.
Because I knew that, so that's the area that I wanted to work in, right? And I have to tell you that people thought I was crazy, because with all this experience with legal and governance and compliance and all, why would you just throw all of that away and move into something else? But this is where I feel that I can do something that's a little bit different, and so I wanted to stay in that space, but I realized that I had made mistakes. And I realized that, having made those mistakes, they're great learning points that and I wouldn't make those mistakes in this new, business. So rather than rush into doing all sorts of things, I've taken things, easy. Well, not easy, but I've not sort of, I've not rushed in to do anything. I've not, marketed. We've not, there's just many things that I haven't, that we've done in a very different way.
Right.
And so that's why. But I realized that maybe change the focus
Yeah,
to women.
to women, right.
And
And which is, and there is a
yeah.
gap there, right, as well. So being able to combine, because guys have it, there are many men's business clubs that are doing well across Africa, but really there is no space like what you have
Across the world.
across the world. Exactly. Across, I mean, from other parts of the world, it's now in Africa. Talk about the Old Boys Network and all, and that's really where businesses are done. And so you're saying, why not women? Why not women leaders, female leaders doing that and creating that space? Exactly. So, I mean, it's an excellent idea. And that would bring me to my next question. Given that it's such a new idea and, women in terms of networking and getting together, what has been your most challenging experience today and learning experience? And how have you overcome that in the couple of years you've had this business? Yes, you've been in working for over 30 years, but this is a new business, a new type of business for Africa. So that's very bold and audacious, of you to do that. So, but obviously, I'm sure it comes with some challenges. What would you say has been the one major challenge you've had? I know there are several,
funding.
But one.
Funding. So funding is a huge issue. It really is. And in fact, it's really funny that I should be talking about this now, because just earlier this morning, I was saying to, our programs lady that, listen, we need to have a webinar with VCs that have a gender focus to ask questions around what is it they are looking for from women? Because why is it that women always have this, they have great difficulty raising money? And, we have to understand that not everybody is in the tech space. Okay, yeah, we're tech enabled, but not everyone is in the tech space, right? And women, I think, tend to do some, slightly different type of businesses. So if you have a gender lens, you should really you should understand the type of businesses that women do, and you should be able to support that. Because, I mean, like with this, with Gaia, it's an expensive project, yes, but it's expensive because of standard to which we want to, to ensure that the house is designed, right? And so, trying to raise that money. I had somebody say the other day, you spent X amount of money, what have you done with it? And I'm just like, okay, have you been to the space? But these things like this. So so that's one of the biggest challenges is funding. The other challenge is really the difficulty I've had trying to articulate my vision, and for people to actually grasp it. Because I've actually had people say, yeah, I understood it, but actually having now been, walked around the clubhouse, I understand even more. So I don't, it's not a novel thing. This is, okay, so, I mean, I was, I was abroad for many years. I'm a member of a couple of clubs in the UK. So I understand that club scene very well. We have private members clubs here, but they're generally sort of like linked to some sort of sport. So we have more like country type clubs, right? So not these, except for maybe the Metropolitan Club, which is a business club for men. But so, yeah, trying to articulate that vision for people to understand, women don't like, a high price tag on anything. And,
And how have you overcome the funding issue? I know it's an ongoing thing, but I mean, you're up and running. How have you overcome that?
So we're opening in September, but we've been working. So how have I overcome it? By by throwing caution to the wind and going to see and talk to as many people as possible, pitching to as many people as possible. I had to bring down the entry level, the entry price level into, the investment, and just really then decided that, I'm going to speak to women particularly. And I've managed to speak to I think about 10 or 12 women who have invested.
Right.
And,
So, and that's the life
I
of
have
an
not yet found.
yeah. Now I was going to say that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? Pitching and pitching and pitching some
Yeah,
more, right? And I'm sure that's
absolutely.
not what you expected, but at
Absolutely.
least it's on. I mean, it's back on, as you said, the
No,
clubhouse is started, but it's
no, it's
on
not.
for some. And you also launched during the
Yeah,
and that's again how you're able to, I guess, based on who you are and the strength of who you are, during the COVID period, during the pandemic, you launched Gaia Digital. Can you speak about that? What is that all about?
absolutely. So we were used to having our events in person, right? And then COVID struck. And then again, it was like, you know what, we're not just going to sit and twiddle our thumbs, right? We've got to look to see how we're going to do something here. And so we thought that, okay, look, how can we still ensure that our members, have get value, okay? And so we decided that, maybe we need to bring new teachings, new different things. So we've done teachings on, and I call it teachings, but really it's either, it could actually be, a refresher or whatever. But we decided that we would launch an executive academy, and that we would have a webinar every Tuesday evening, bringing, different subjects. So we've had from Bitcoin to productivity to menopause to wellness. And then we moved all our clubs online as well. So um, book club, gourmet club, even we had online. Basically, we just mixed drinks. So that was interesting. We've had, of course, arts and culture. We've talked about investing in art. We've talked about wines. We've joined the Women in Wine Club in London for certain events. I mean, we just thought, what, we're not. And also we also would have members evenings. We would have, in the beginning of lockdown, we started to have cocktails and chill on a Monday evening, so we're starting the week. So let's start it up nicely. Let's have a cocktail and let's just chat. And actually during one of those cocktails and chill, whatever, meetings or whatever, we launched our first investment club. And we thought, you know what, we're just sitting here, let's just, get an investment club and put money together, and you just never know where it's going to go. Let's do something that's not going to be too painful. So we launched the first investment club, and then we've recently launched a second investment club, which is going to be a lot bigger, because the first one, we limited it to 20, because of the management of it. But then this next one, just kind of like into it's a different model, but it should be very interesting as well. So yeah.
Excellent. So you've been able to. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I stopped you. Could you go on? Sorry, I caught you.
I was also going to just mention that we also launched what we call the Global Digital Membership. So the idea for that is to have members, women in different, the same demographic, obviously, but in different parts of Africa and different parts of the world. So right now we have members in Europe, different parts of Europe, I believe UK, France and Germany so far, Dubai, and then also the US, right? So the idea is really to have, try to build that up. We haven't really sort of marketed it, strongly, but yeah, there's just so many things that we're working on. But we do want to put that out that, there is a global digital membership, which is fun. And because we're doing so much on digital, members can join in and do all these things.
I really think that's exciting. I really think that's exciting that even in the pandemic, right, a new opportunity in terms of Gaia Digital.
Absolutely.
And even raising, setting up an investment club from just a conversations with the members. And that leads me to my next question in terms of the value of developing networks as a female leader. What are your thoughts around that? Particularly when you've now passed middle management, and what do you see from the women there? What do you think are the challenges around that? What can people, I know there's many questions, but just tell me what your thoughts are around that and what women need to do.
So I think that's a fabulous question. First of all, because I believe that I'm a late starter, right? In terms of, first of all, I'm very, nobody believes it when I tell them that I'm an introvert, right? And
Had
but
to
because
believe,
of
I must
the
say,
work.
but go on. Had to believe, but go on.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad. But because of the work that I've had to do over the years and the work that I'm doing today, I have to be a little more, in the front of things. My recovery is usually quite, delayed, but I have to do it, but I have to recover. Now, so the thing about networks is that they are critical to every single thing that you will do in life. And I find that, cultivating a network is, you have to be open to it, right? So you have to be open to meeting new people, you have to be open to introductions, you have to make introductions, and then you have to work on those relationships. It's not just when you want something that you now suddenly remember that you're going to call somebody. No. So it's really sort of like, nurturing is the best word. Nurturing those relationships with each person. It's talking about what it is that you're doing, what you plan to do. You want to know what they are doing. You want to try and help them with what they're doing. I love to connect people. So once I hear that somebody wants to do, I'm like, okay, I must know at least 3 people, But I was never like that, because of course my world, I had a bubble, which was my world. And actually the work did not allow me to even cultivate relationships outside of the office. So because I would never even know where I was going to be from week to week, day to day sometimes, So, and people call me, what part of the world are you in today? This sort of thing. So now I'm telling people who are still, in corporate that, listen, I'm sorry, but yeah, cultivate your internal relationships, but ensure that you still manage to cultivate relationships outside. And, you just really never know who can help you with whatever. It may not be today, it may not be next year, it may not be in a couple of years, it may not even be you, maybe your child, right? And you never know. It may not be you, Neka, but it could be the second and third person removed from you that and that you think, okay, yeah, maybe I can just make that introduction. So networks are very, very important. I don't like the word network. I don't know why. I
Okay,
prefer
so
community.
what's a better term for that?
I think I prefer community. I like community
Community. Okay,
because
okay.
because human beings gravitate towards communities, right? We like communities. There's a community of family, there's a community of friends, there's a community of business partners. We like communities.
True.
So yeah, I think it's just a nicer word. Because when you talk about network, people just think it's just, you know, coming to some seminar, giving out a card, and then that's not what it is.
So what
So
you're
yeah.
saying then is
And I
about
so for,
working
to
on.
answer your question,
Yeah, no, please go.
no, I was just going to say that, to cut a long story short, it is critical for a woman, for any, women in leadership, to have that network. And it's not just a network of women, it's a network of everyone, right? It's, the younger people, the older people, the men, the women, it's a robust network, because you just, you never know. And yeah, I think it's critical to everything we do.
So are you then saying that, each female leader or high performing female leader, I know it's for all, and I think the men do it better generally.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I
Mm-hmm.
just, kind of think about that and do that and work it.
Mm-hmm.
You should be conscious of building your own, to use your term, your own community of
Correct.
your own community, and looking at how that community can continually be extended.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm.
And I think, even to speak to that as well, I think that women should take up the mantle of being sponsors, right? So sponsoring, other people, whether, in corporate or wherever it is. And, the difference between a sponsor and a mentor, while a mentor is the one who is advising you on things, a sponsor actually takes, huge interest in moving your career trajectory. So by introducing you to the right people, by speaking about you when you're not in the room, and women leaders can sponsor each other, because now we're ripe for board seats, and I'm very happy to speak about people that I know. I recommend them to for board seats, that sort of thing.
Mm.
So yeah.
No, very interesting point you've just brought up, and which is area of sponsorship. And you said even for female leaders, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
being intentional about that. So beyond, beyond
Correct.
wanting to, having that abundant mindset, which is about helping others, right? How would it, some people may say, what's in it for me then, being a sponsor? Why would I want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Could you, I mean, I'm just kind of thinking, I just want to
Well,
challenge your thinking, challenge, not your
yeah.
thinking, but challenge
Well,
what you're saying so that we can get more from that.
I think first of all, with him should not really come into it, but you do benefit in the end, because imagine that you have sponsored 2 or 3 people, and for example, they then become, I don't know, CEOs in a place or whatever, right? So you have created that, you've certainly contributed a lot to that person,
Right.
and you will get it back, right? Whether it's because you can then ask them to do the same, to pay it forward, right? For other people, you will get it back. But I don't think you go in with the mindset of
No,
what's in it for me. You go
absolutely.
in with
Yeah. And I was just thinking that beyond that, and if, as you said, even just the fulfillment, which
yeah,
one cannot buy. Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's very interesting, of actually being intentional about wanting to be a sponsor, because at some level you can do
yeah,
that, and you actually have you're a member of different communities to be able to do that, but you just never thought
yeah,
about it,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond work, your passions, and you have several of that. I first of all even want to ask, how did you develop this passion beyond work? Because again, not many female leaders make the time to develop other passions, other hobbies. How did you develop that and even get certifications on that? So two questions in one.
Okay. How did I develop my passions? I don't know. I mean, I've just always, so let me start with art.
Yes.
Art makes me feel good, right? So in fact, let me see, how can I put this? When I look at a piece of art, I'm really hoping I don't connect with it, because it always leads to trouble. Because then, after now, I'm going to look for the money to buy the thing. And it's happened on a few occasions where I've seen a piece and I've thought, oh my, okay, nah, okay, I've got to have this one. And I left it because maybe it's really expensive. But I've had dreams about the thing 2 or 3 days. I have to go back to the gallery to say, okay, right, okay, what can we do about this? Because I need to have this in my house, right? So, but art makes me feel really good. I mean, like, anywhere I am, I love to have art that surrounds me. I love to just looking at them, like gives me a sense of well-being.
Mm.
So, I don't choose my art for the purpose of resale, even though I've been warned by a good friend of mine, like, okay, after you've gone, what do you think your kids are going to do with your pieces of art? But I choose ones that, speak to me. I choose the ones that make me feel good. I love to look at them because, the colors are vibrant, because I don't know this. And every time I go back to a piece of art, I'm seeing something different, right? So that's the art. Now, wine, I don't know. I guess I developed a taste for wine. God, I don't know, many, many, many years ago.
What of
And
food? What of food?
perhaps, oh, food. Oh, food. Well, I've always loved good food. I think that comes from my father, right?
Yeah.
Because my father always loved good food. And I just kind of like developed to a point where, you know what, if the food doesn't look good, I'd rather starve and wait until I can get something that I always tell people, I'm not going to waste my stomach space for anything that's not good. I'd rather wait for, really good food. I like food, but I don't like, food that is overwhelming. So if you're going to serve me something and you serve me like a huge block of food, it's very, so I like my food to, look a certain way, and a certain size and all that sort of stuff.
Culture.
Culture, absolutely. Yeah, culture, because I mean, first of all, I put history under culture, and I don't know enough about my own country's history. So I'm a student of history. My husband is a student of history, but um, I could just honestly, the guy knows a lot. So I learn a lot from him, and I like to hear about our history. So when we do our arts and culture events, it's always something around the history. The last one was about slavery in Lagos, right? And it's very eye-opening. And how do you where you're going, you don't know where you came from. So it's very important for us to know that. But I did my um, majority of my schooling in the UK, so I was learning about Henry VIII and the Tudors and the Stuarts and all this sort of stuff instead of my own history. So I'm learning about that now, and I'm glad that history is now. History was always sort of more of an academic subject, but historians, the academics, are very happy to share their knowledge with non-academics, and so this is very helpful as well. And so, with regard to wine and why I went to a certification, that was because it's not enough to just taste wine. It's good to know about the grape. It's good to know about the weather that the grapes are grown in. It's good to know how long, which years are good, the good years. About the grapes in different countries, from France to South America to wherever. It's just good to have that history, and or rather, sorry.
Well, I would say it's because
so
I would say it's because you are interested in that, which is why you now wanted to further develop the knowledge.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So my follow-on question will then be, why do you think it's important for female leaders to develop their area of their passion that are not business? So like in your case, like history, food and wine, to further develop that. I know, I'm just thinking about that, right? Okay, so why, what's the motivation to doing that?
Well, I think that it's good to have a hobby. Okay, so let's talk about it like it's a hobby, because it can't always be work. You need to have something that you can do that you enjoy. And I tell you, I have a lot of stuff that I can do. I love to watch movies. I love to go to theater. All these things, right? So you need to have something that you actually enjoy doing. That's your downtime. And I say to people that if, for example, I decide that like at the end of the day, I can be quite stressed, and I just need to deflate. And the one thing that helps me do that is a nice glass of wine, and I'm watching a movie, because the movie will take me away to somewhere else. I don't have to think about anything else. I enjoy listening to books. And because of the book club now, I have no choice, and I'm trying to the book club, you have to read one book, but I can read like 2 or 3 in a month because I'm listening to it. And you can listen to a book in the shower, in your car, when you're doing, downtime before you go to bed. So I think it's important to have something else that can take your mind off your major field, if you see what I mean. And because you find that when you're able to do that, you kind of refresh your brain.
Yes.
And then you can focus a bit more. Yeah.
You even become even more creative, right? I've read some research around that. That's how you even get your creative juices going. When you are thinking of something not in that your main space. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, as we begin to wrap up, this has been a great conversation. Any final thoughts to let me see, who would you be speaking to now? Somebody who is in her mid-career and is kind of looking at, let me just leave it open. What are your thoughts? Any final thoughts? Let me not skew you in one direction.
Final thoughts would really be around self-development, and I think that women, no matter what level they're at, continue to develop themselves, read things. HBR articles for me are just amazing, because they would from managing people to sitting on a board, they've got you covered, and they have some very, very interesting articles, and they're not overwhelmingly long, so you can read them quickly. And then I've even done a course on Coursera, I think it is. I listen to, or rather I watch, oh God, what's it called now? I have the app. This thing that teaches you all kinds of different things, from writing to cooking to what's it called? Is Mastermind or something?
The Master Chef.
To people who set up businesses. No, not Master Chef. Can I just look on my phone and tell you what the app?
Yeah, that's fine, because we can put that in the show notes. So while she's looking for that, for those interested in Gaia Africa, there's a website, and there will also be on the show notes regarding also Digital Africa. But Olatowun, while you are bringing that up, something that struck me when you were speaking was even developing your hobby, and being good at that area, not necessarily
Yes.
in your business. So that's for me a takeaway for that, right? So what's my passion? If it's history, why don't you go learn more about art history, for example, around that? So I thanks for sharing that. Really enjoyed that, and I have several takeaways for me, some to-dos around some of the things we talked about. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Naka, for this conversation. Thank you for inviting me. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself, and yeah, I look forward to listening to your other podcasts,
All right,
with other
thank
people,
you.
so that I also can learn new things.